Great to have you, sir. I'll be putting you on the radio soon, sir. All right. I'm trying to put my next guest on the radio. Okay, great to have you, sir. How are you, sir?
Very well. How are you?
Thank you so much. Sorry for waking you up this morning and getting you out there. So my next guest is the governor of Ekiti State, Governor Kayode Fayemi. He joins me this morning, and it's a pleasure. Thank you so much having to come up here and just talking to me this Sunday morning. But real quickly, I would like to go straight to it. There are many issues we'll be tearing apart and all of that. At first, a lot of people have been asking, yes, a new government is in your states. What are your expectations? They're also talking about the elections, all right? The elections at which this candidate emerged. They talked about vote buying. They talked about so many things. What will be your clarification as regards all of that as you start your transition process?
Thank you very much, Rufai. Well, the new government comes into office on October 16th, by which time I would have served out my 2 terms in office. The incoming governor used to be my secretary to the state government, and he was previously a commissioner for economic planning and budgets, as well as chief of staff to one of my predecessors, Governor Kayode. So he's very well equipped. He has the experience, he has the knowledge, he has the understanding of Ekiti people, and I would expect that he would continue on the path of progressive development of the state. It's the first time we would be having a governor from the same ideological and political orientation taking over from his predecessor. So again, the normal distractions that we always have when you have alternation of power from one political party to another would not be there for this new governor. He would have all the necessary facilities and understanding to know what had happened in the previous administration, and to continue from there. Of course, the challenge of resources, the uncertainties of political developments in the country, the usual nature of succession will still be there, but he has an advantage, and that's something that none of us has enjoyed in the past, those who've been governors in the state. So I believe that he will start on a very, very positive note, and the trajectory can only be on the upswing.
Okay.
Because the other matter you raised concerning allegations about how he emerged as the candidate and his eventual victory in the election, I would say clearly that it's in the nature of Nigerian politics, unfortunately, for people who lose elections to find reasons other than themselves as an explanation for their loss in any election. In that particular election, I was in my own village in Ekiti, and I voted there. It was recorded publicly on television because there were a phalanx of journalists present where I voted, and clearly there was nothing like vote buying in that particular polling unit where I voted. So it would be irresponsible on my part to take the total title that I picked from happen and did not happen. I did not witness any vote buying in that election, and I didn't witness any vote selling in that election. So I really couldn't comment on it. But clearly, if you were to do your own assessment, where was the opposition in that election? The opposition to the All Progressive Congress was divided. The insurgents in that election, the Social Democratic Party, was a faction of the PDP. And if you were to add the votes of both parties, it will still not come close to the votes that put Oyebanji in the election as the winner. So there is a clear rational argument for the victory, and there's clearly is also the performance of the outgoing government. And if you want to be objective, there couldn't have been any other winner in that election outside of Oyebanji, quite frankly.
Okay, but it's just that the other camp doesn't feel that way. There were talks of vote buying, and there were talks about that being corroborated by election monitors that actually confirmed that there were vote buying in the state. But because we have a lot of issues to cover, let me quickly move on. You can send your questions, if you're looking at me at the live chat here, so I can ask Governor Kayode Fayemi of Ekiti State. Secondly, the other issue I want to talk about is this NNPC launch. I know the state governors quipped about it. What are the issues surrounding the launch of this NNPC? And I know the state governor feel very strong about the new NNPC conversation.
Well, Rufai, this is an old debate for us. First, let me say that as far as the new NNPC Limited is concerned, governors generally feel it's a step in the right direction to have the company be divested. In fact, this has been an argument for some time that what we require in order for the NNPC to function as effectively as Nigerians would like to see is an NLNG model in which the company is independent commercially of the government of Nigeria, but returns profit and royalties from its operations to its shareholders. That has always been our position. However, in the process leading up to the enactment of the Petroleum Industries Act, we were very active in that discussion. We attended the public hearing. We had extensive discussions with the committee responsible for putting that law together, led by Senator Sabo Nakudu. And we also engaged the federal government and the committee that was set up after the law was promulgated, and we highlighted our concerns again. And the concerns are basically relating to the ownership structure of the NNPC Limited. What the PIA says is that the NNPC Limited is a federation company. It does admit that. And when you have a federation company, you're talking about the federating units, which, as we all know, are the federal government, the state government, and the local government, which states normally act for. But the Act then goes on to say that this federation company will be represented by the Federal Ministry of Finance Incorporated, 50%, and Federal Ministry of Petroleum Resources Incorporated, 50%. 50%. So in other words, the 200 million nominal shares, which were supposed to be the 200 million Nigerians, if you like, now belong to these two companies acting for the federation. And we said, no, we do not accept that as states. There is always an underlying principle for managing federation institutions. We've done it. The Sovereign Wealth Fund, otherwise known as NSIA. We've done it with NLNG. We've done it with NIPP. Those are the power holding company. And we even have shareholding certificates for all these federation companies. Because this is not the first federation company we're having. We have others. And the shareholding structure is very clear. It mirrors the revenue allocation formula in the country, which is 52% federal government, jointly between themselves, 46 between local government and state government, and then there are some special institutions like Natural Resource Development Fund, Logical Funds. I mean, those are really infinitesimal, but that's the structure for federation accounts. And we have raised this with Mr. President. We've discussed this, formally and informally with the Ministry of Petroleum Resources and the Ministry of Finance. And we've also taken this up with the Senate Committee and the National Assembly. They would agree with the argument that we put up, but I don't want to suggest that there's any sleight of hand anywhere. But we have reached a point now that governors have decided that we're going to seek judicial interpretation of these constitutional principles that we are insisting on. So the matter would be, therefore, those who are saddled with such responsibility to interpret it for us and decide what the ownership structure should be.
Okay.
That's one. We have a number of other issues, but that's the most fundamental.
Okay, so the governors will go to court, and I'm confirming that from you now, Governor Kayode Fayemi, that the governors will go to court over the ownership structure of the NNPC.
Well, that's not the first stage. The governors have set up a committee in our last meeting, chaired by our vice chairman, and I can give you freely those who are in that committee. Governor Aminu Tambuwal, Governor Rotimi Akeredolu. These are lawyers, and we deliberately put them in this committee to do this review. And Governor Charles Soludo, Governor Udom Emmanuel, I believe Governor Abdurazak of Kwara, Governor Dapo Abiodun of Ogun State, and Governor Abdullahi Sule of Nasarawa State. Those three, as you may know, they've operated in that sector for a long time as oilmen, and we feel that with the lawyers in our team and the economist, former central bank governor, these are issues that can be first discussed again with these people, with the representative of the federal authorities, and if we're getting nowhere, yes, we will go to court.
Okay, so you discuss with the authorities first as regards NNPC, but if nothing is done, you go to court. Let's quickly go straight and dive into a little bit of politics. It's politics season. You guys will start the campaign trail in September. A lot of people are asking, what records are the APC going to campaign on? They're talking about debt service ratio that hit 119%. Now we're borrowing to pay our debts. They're talking about massive insecurity, Abuja siege and all of that, prison break here and there. They're talking about insecurity, unknown gunmen everywhere. The other day, Ondo, just your neighboring state, has been madly attacked, by criminals, terrorists, bandits, whatever you want to call them. The Owo massacre is one. And also the general state of play of the economy. Now we have inflation over 18%. That's times 2 of the CBN target of 9%. Then at the same time, we have a Forex problem. Companies are losing money by the day because of Forex. And that's the state of play in the economy. So people are asking, what records will the APC campaign on?
Well, Rufai, I think these are legitimate questions to pose to an APC chieftain on your program. But I wouldn't want to discuss the campaign strategy of APC on radio because we're still working things out. As you know, it's only this week released names of leading figures in the campaign organization. But let's talk as Nigerians. There is no doubt that we're not where we want to be or where we ought to be as a country. This was not what we promised when we campaigned to seek for presidential power in 2015 and 2019. Some of these problems that you have highlighted are products of our policies, and we have to take responsibility for them. Others are clearly the result of global changes. We never expected that we would spend more than 2 years experiencing COVID-19 pandemic and all of its effects on the economy. We also never anticipated that there will be the conflict that is ravaging Ukraine and that has global implications, economic implications as well. But where I believe we could have acted differently, I mean, almost every country that is an oil-producing nation is benefiting from some of these challenges that I speak about, because oil prices are, of course, not at the benchmark price that we anticipated. If we were to take the current budget, with Brent price was, I think, $62 per barrel. Oil has sold for above that over the last budget cycle. But unfortunately for us, almost every penny that we earn from oil has been plunged back into refined products importation, to the extent that we really don't even have NNPC contributing to the Federation account over the last 6 months. So that is something that we are responsible for. But we are responsible for it because you also have a president who is almost always very concerned about the plight of ordinary Nigerians. That is why he has been reluctant against all economic indices and against all evidence that have been provided. That's why he has been reluctant to accede to a removal of subsidy on PMS. And the inflationary impact that would have on other products, food inflation, general inflation, these are issues that ordinary Nigerians are concerned about, no matter how much we argue that, yes, there may be a short-term impact on that, and governors have argued this. Governors have been accused of lacking in feeling for ordinary Nigerians by insisting that there should be a subsidy removal, but a subsidy removal that is backed up by a pot of money clearly defined for specific purposes that would be to the benefit of ordinary Nigerians. But there is deficit of trust generally with the government, and even when they know that this is not sensible, everybody still believes the myth that they would be beneficial beneficiaries of petroleum subsidy. So we need to have a conversation, a serious conversation around it amongst the people. And maybe the election will provide us with the opportunity to do that if people genuinely want an economy that is better than this.
Okay. So you've said that maybe the election will afford the people the opportunity to do that. We need to have serious conversation. You accepted the fact that there were failures and failings on behalf of this on the part of this government, and there were some that you said, okay, was blamed because of the economic situation all around and all of the things around. But another very critical matter was the fact that this government came in with a great record that they were going to solve the insecurity problem. But it has gotten worse over the years, and the problem now has come home to roost because we don't even know what we're dealing with. Is it unknown gunmen? Is it terrorists? Things just happen everywhere. So what will be the solution to the problem of this insecurity as we speak? Because, yeah, we've thrown money at the problem. You can argue with me that the money might not be enough in terms of security spend, but people say we ought to be seeing results by now.
Rufai, you're absolutely right. The security situation is appalling. It's unacceptable. But I don't want to go into the semantics over whether it has gotten worse or not worse. I happen to be a student of security, and I know that the fear of crime is almost always twice the real crime itself. And by that, not suggesting that the security situation is good. It has mutated, but it has also subsided in some parts. At the time this government was coming into office, you would recall that you couldn't even drive freely in Abuja. You had the Madala bombing, you had the police headquarters attack, you had the UN building attack, all events were happening in the villa. You had 27 out of the 30 odd local governments in Borno State, 3 in Adamawa, and I believe another 2 or so in Yobe, under full control, or at least not under the control of the federal authorities. I don't believe that that's the case today. Things have improved in the Northeast significantly, and that was the center of the insurgency at the time. Yes, it is now clear that banditry, kidnapping, random killings, and what you call unknown gunmen in the southeastern part of the country, particularly, and occasional forays, like we had in Owo, which is unfortunate because the Southwest has been largely insulated, although we've had some killings like the Fashion killings or the kidnappings in the Southwest as well. But by and large, the Southwest had been insulated from this. I believe that one of the major challenges that we ought to have responded to much earlier when this thing happened was the impression amongst most Nigerians that the problem of the Northeast should be left to the Northeast people. You know the balance, Rufai, Gambari, Pakula, and Nikos Lejonu, who were not sufficiently seized of the issue to have had a whole of society response to it. We felt it was the problem of the people of Maiduguri and Yobe and Adamawa. Well, let them sort their problems out. They're the ones whose children are killing each other for reasons that are not entirely clear to the rest of us. Now the chickens have come home to roost. We can blame government because government is responsible for security and welfare of Nigerians. And when you come to that, say that we ought to have had a human security approach to this, not just an exclusively hard military security approach, because there is a direct correlation between poverty and violence. And many of the people who have been involved in this, they've gotten to a point where, yes, people may say religion, but there's nothing religious about many of the things they've done, because these are Muslims killing Muslims. They're not Muslims exclusively targeting Christians. What is happening in Zamfara or in Kaduna or in any of our states in the Northwest now is not a religious war. It's an opportunistic one in which people believe that if cattle rearing is no longer as profitable as kidnapping, let me drop my cattle rearing and focus on kidnapping where I could make more money.
Okay. I mean, some great insights there, but, you know, for the sake of benchmarking the argument, some other people also argue that prior to the APC government coming in, we never had a case of Brigade of Guard being attacked, Abuja being almost invaded, and people could still travel from Lagos, from Abuja to Kaduna without having their hearts in their mouth, but today is not the case. They also talk about the fact that the Niger State governor did come out to say that most parts of Niger State, most parts are surrounded by these criminals, these bandits, these terrorists. So that's just to benchmark the arguments on both sides.
I don't disagree with that. And Rufai, you've had me in your studio, or you've interviewed me in the past, and I pointed out a number of things that are still not right with our security strategy and our operational framework at this point in time. One, I have argued in the past that we're throwing money as a problem without reviewing the way we're dealing with the problem. This is an asymmetrical warfare. And in asymmetrical warfare, you cannot use the conventional strategy of war. Because more often than not, these enemies are embedded within your own normal society. And when they're embedded, they have informants, they get intelligence, they know what is happening directly from source, because they live amongst people. And then go on to undertake their nefarious activities. Number three, you cannot use MRAPs and use APCs to fight these people. You have to design another strategy in which new battalions and new brigades should emerge in those areas where we have these problems. The other day, people were saying that, the military has undertaken some changes in their senior officers. And I looked at the list of the changes and I laughed, because the areas were affected were not even the areas that have become the epicenters of this problem. It was not the GOCs in the northeast that were changed. The three GOCs that were changed in that reshuffle was GOC in Lagos, GOC in Ibadan, and GOC in Enugu. Maybe Enugu is close to the IPOP crisis, so you can say that's part of it. But I do not believe that change reflected in any way a response strategy to the problems that we're currently experiencing. That's that. In talking to military people, all of them admit, and even the police, that there is nothing they have asked for that President Buhari has not made available to them. In many cases, they're using resources to duplicate their operation. They duplicate equipment purchase, they duplicate intelligence institutions, and they do not synergize enough. And that has its own implications. So you can have intelligence that is not actionable. It's just gossip.
So it goes. So it goes back to that talk of the architecture itself.
Yes, it goes back to to the architecture. We need to rejig the architecture. We need to use technology more. We need to have more men. The reality is that we do not have enough. I said on that program to you, Rufai, you asked me a question. I said, look at countries like Egypt, countries like Ethiopia. They have more men under arms than we do. It's even a struggle for us to recruit 10,000 men into the police force. You hear that the Police Service Commission is fighting the Inspector General of Police, and there's all sorts of altercations over simple recruitment.
Okay.
So when we are ready,
yes,
we will tackle these issues.
Okay. And so because you're also pushing the candidacy of the man you stepped down for, because you two were in the running for presidency at a point, that's Senator Bola Ahmed Tinubu. We're also pushing his candidacy. So I assume that these are the things that you people are going to be talking about and giving us more details about, when the time comes as regards the campaign, September and all of that, and in the manifesto, because a lot of Nigerians are saying that they'll like to see these things. They'll like to see this detailed argument, block for block, bit by bit, and to be able to enunciate this. But I would like to talk to you about the role of religion. Your political party, the APC, is making a strong pitch to Nigerians that religion doesn't matter. You floated a Muslim-Muslim ticket. But a lot of people are saying that in 2015, because of religious expediency, you had to balance your ticket in 2015. It was a Muslim and a Christian. Now, what has changed? Is it just a thing of convenience? It doesn't matter. And what is it, that brouhaha about the bishops and all of that? That we need to sort out all of that. Let's talk about that then quickly before I now talk about, you as a person, and as you start to wrap up your tenure, what next for you? Because since you're not running for president again.
Thank you very much, Rufai. I'm sad, and it's unfortunate that religion has come front and center into political arguments. But then again, this is Nigeria. We are a multicultural, multi-ethnic, multi-religious society, and there's always going to be need for sensitivity and for inclusion in whatever we do as a country. And our politicians ought to be cognizant of that fact. There can be no debate about strengthening our national cohesion and national unity by ensuring that whatever we do is reflective of the mosaic nature of our country. That's how those who put us together have done it, and that's how we have managed to survive so far. But I think it's unfortunate that we are really inserting something that is private. I'm a proud Christian, a Catholic, and in Catholic social teachings, we are very passionate about social justice. But at the same time, I do not necessarily believe that what has happened in APC is a reflection of how Bola Tinubu sees other faiths. I think, putting it bluntly, I think for him and his strategists, I haven't been part of those discussions, I must say, but for him and his strategies, they were just looking at how best to win an election. It's not a matter of competence, it's not a matter of inclusion, it's not a matter of logic necessarily.
So why did they make that argument of competence? Because the argument of competence was flat on his feet when they said, obviously, there's no Christian that was competent enough to be on the joint ticket with him in the North.
I don't think that's accurate. I mean, you know that there are competent Christians all over Nigeria, not least in the northern parts of Nigeria, who are leading members of our party. I mean, very, very competent Nigerians who have gone on to do great things in their own fields of endeavor. I do not think, I mean, you know Bola Tinubu. I don't think he would say that. He is a detribalized
or maybe
Nigerian.
surrogates say that, because that was the arguments most of his surrogates were making on television.
Well, sometimes surrogates speak out of tune. They speak not because they've been properly briefed on what they're saying. They speak because they think they just have to put up a defense. And a lot of them talk a whole lot of nonsense. But that is something that you should also expect in politics. People who do not even know Bola Tinubu or are not part of his campaign, they're speaking for him. So this, I would advise him and advise the party, the campaign ought to be better disciplined. We shouldn't just go out there and say things unnecessarily. I mean, you are asking me now. I'm not the spokesperson of the campaign. And I'm articulating a position, which is my private, personal opinion, not the opinion of Bola Tinubu. But because I believe I know him well enough, I can say that he is not the type that would decry the importance of a multi-religious country. And he's demonstrated in times without number that.
Just do you think they could have been more appealing in the argument by saying, okay, this is the case? Because you're more tempered in the argument, not like what the argument they were making. In fact, at some point, the first rebuttal of the argument was, oh, it doesn't mean anything. Then when people talked about 2015, then they rebuffed and said, no, it's because of competence. Then the third one, the surrogates started abusing everybody. So do you think they will have just been more tempered in the rebuttals rather than just making arguments that was flat on his feet?
I think they certainly could have been more tempered and more mature about it. I also, as a matter of fact, I believe that we, as a party, ought to have been more strategic about it. And I think there was a time factor that affected this whole thing. Remember, he was in France. He came back from France. And it was barely a week to the deadline, INEC deadline for the submission of names. I mean, if I were in that position, maybe a week earlier, once it's clear that it's going to be a person from the northern extraction who is a Muslim, I would have actually undertaken the task of reaching out to influential Christian leaders, including the ones in our party, who may legitimately have expected to be chosen as the vice presidential candidate, and build a team of respected Christian leaders in APC to engage senior Christian figures that are respected. The Pastor Adeboye is the president of the Catholic Bishop Conference, the president of the Pentecostal Federation of Nigeria, president of ECWA, COPIN, all those we ought to have reached them, because I think they also felt insulted that this thing just came like a bolt out of the blue. So yes, you're right. It could have been a much more mature handling than what we did.
Okay, so you're going to leave in October after you've served 8 years. At some point, you've been a minister. In fact, you've had a good run. You came from civil society, all right? In fact, a lot of people are even saying that the argument of competence was the argument Bola Tinubu himself gave. That's what people are saying, because, you know, I've got a YouTube trail where people are commenting. So they're saying he said it himself about the competence thing. You came from civil society. You are in government. You've been on both sides. You are leaving government now. What next for you? What's the future for you? A lot of people thought, okay, you're going to run for president, but you stepped down for Bola Tinubu now. So what next for you? And what's your message for the people of your state, Ekiti State?
Thank you, Rufai. Look, I mean, I've been at this since 2005 when I stepped down as the director of the Center for Democracy and Development. And I'm glad that CDD has grown to higher heights since I left. So for me, I don't have a sit-tight syndrome. I don't want to be a governor forever or remain in particular positions forever. I watch from afar what CDD is doing now. I support them when they ask for support, usually intellectual support, but I'm very proud of the legacy that I left as the pioneer director of that institution. Just as I'm proud of what I did in the Ministry of Mines and Steel Development when I was minister in President Buhari's first term, and of course my return to Ekiti. I really want to take some time off. Unfortunately, I may not be able to because we have a campaign coming up, and I'm a party man to the core, regardless of what may have transpired in the presidential primaries. I'm going to work for my party and do everything within my power to ensure that our candidate emerges the president of Nigeria in February 2023. That's the first assignment that you're going to hear me concentrate on. But after that, I really want to put some of what I've done into some reflection. I first and foremost, I'm an academic, so I would like to write about my experience in public office, particularly in state government and in the Ministry of Mines. I hope to return to some policy work. I'm hoping to set up a policy think tank that would mentor younger people who wants to come into public office, because that is also an area of challenge. I have a lot of young people working with me. I have a chief of staff who joined me when he was 27 and he's 39 now. I have a finance commissioner under 40. I have so many young people around me. And one of the things they say to me is, you need to tell us how you manage this trajectory. And a lot of people who are not even in my government, they say the same thing. And I believe we owe our younger ones. When you look at that INEC records, the most recent records that has come out of those who've registered for elections, and you follow the debate online, you see that something is changing in Nigeria. Younger people are becoming more interested than they used to be. And I think that is positive for our democracy. But they also need the tools
to be able to do it.
To be able to do it beyond noise. Yes, people say you campaign in prose and you
govern in poetry, Mario Cuomo.
Well, that's Mario Cuomo. But you know what? We now campaign in noise, not even in prose. It's unintelligible noise. And a lot of young people don't even know where this country has come from. They're like the people they call the bomb-free generation in South Africa, who, when you hear them talk about Mandela, you're shocked because they describe Mandela as a sellout. The expletives they use for the ANC fighters is not in any way connected to the reality of the struggle that those.
Okay. So because of time, we're wrapping up. So we're expecting a book from you. We're expecting the think tank, the leadership think tank, and intellectual work, from you. And probably we expect you to maybe, I don't know, you'll be lecturing in Nigerian University maybe sometime soon, and, just sharing those rich insights, but a lot.
Yes. I have a standing lectureship at the University of Ibadan Political Science, which I have not taken up.
Okay, so you take that. So you.
I may also do that now.
Okay. So, so a lot of people are giving an arm and a leg. In fact, some people are putting up money here on YouTube and saying, I should ask you, that was the bishop coming to the presentation of the vice president, was it really necessary? Was all of that really necessary? And the parade of bishops and all of that, was it really necessary? Really?
Personal opinion?
Yeah.
I think it was unfortunate, it was unnecessary, there was nothing to prove.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not so sure Bola Tinubu knew anything about that. And that's why we need to run a tight ship. We need to run a campaign that is driven by a clear direction of the leadership. Not accidental engagements. There's a lot of accidental engagements.
So you felt...
you have a proliferation of Tinubu support groups. All manner of people are saying all manner of things and doing things just to curry favor of the principal and to look good unfortunately, these things backfire sometimes.
So you felt probably maybe that bishop episode was like an arrangee of some sort that, but you, like you said, it's not necessary really. It wasn't necessary for all of that. All right. Thank you so much, and I wish you a lot of good things in life. As you go on this your new journey. It's always a refreshing talking to you. And always great when we have this conversations back and forth. Governor Kayode Fayemi, and I can't wait to see you at probably the University of Ibadan teaching political science and sharing your rich insights and all of that. And and the work you do with the Leadership Institute at the think tank, and how to grow and develop our politics in Nigeria. A lot of people are saying on YouTube here, the general consensus are saying you're a bit more honest, more than the conventional Nigerian politician. That's what they're saying. And it's quite refreshing for them to say that about a serving governor in this country. That's quite refreshing. And trust me, you've got tons of people watching from the diaspora on this, and that's what they're saying. It's a bit more honest and all of that. So, and they're saying they love to see great minds like you.
It's always refreshing to talk to you, Rufai. You manage to price out this information. I don't know how you do it. Politicians generally are wary of talking to the media because sometimes these things get twisted. But
I know.
The reality is that we also owe a measure of accountability to the public who
thank
have
you so
put
much.
us in this office.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Oh, a lot of accolades coming in for you. I love Fayemi. He sounded honest on many issues. Good man. I love him. He sounded honest on many issues. All right. So
Thank you.
that's the
My
fit.
regards to all of them.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. All right.
Well,
Okay. Okay. Great. I'm sure they heard it. Thank you so much.